There's nothing that eats at you more than being disrespected and not doing anything about it. And this post here does a very good job of explaining this. It says, how do you deal with intense disrespect? I've been reminiscing sometimes in the past where I was passively aggressively mocked or made fun of by my group. One time I was called an idiot in a non-joking way by someone who isn't a friend of mine to my face. I used to walk away or ignore, but I'd usually visually acknowledge and ignore the insult. But honestly, sometimes the fact that I don't take action causes me to have self-esteem problems, and also as a reinforcement of my passive and non-confrontational nature, this is something I see as a strong negative in my life. And he goes on to talk about that he's just not sure in terms of how he should actually go about confronting it. And this end line says, I've noticed that those sort of physical confrontations seem to be the only way of commanding respect and not being seen as a pushover. Now, when I read this, I could relate because I know that for myself and for lots of young guys out there, it seems that when we get disrespected, we can't speak up about it because we are labeled as insecure, as emotional, as whatever it might be. At the end of the day, we're villainized for speaking up about ourselves. And I don't see this in just myself, I see this in friends, family, I see this in people's relationships, I see this online, and it's annoying to see. For example, one of my close friends in his relationship, his partner would often, and sometimes still does, openly disrespect him in front of his friends. And to me, I think that's disgusting. But what's worse is that he wouldn't really speak up about it, right? He wouldn't go and speak to her about it. He wouldn't stand up for himself. And I talked to him about this, and he could sort of agree. And sometimes I'll see this in all sorts of places. But the problem being is, yeah, I just feel like what at the moment our society and the way things are going is that men can't speak up about themselves. And I know for me in the past, I have been disrespected before, but I didn't speak up about it. I had these feelings. I had, the feelings of just basically being mocked. I didn't do anything about it because I didn't want to perhaps be seen as the bad guy. And it's really strange to think that these feelings that we have as guys are always villainized, right? There's never there never seems to be a right way of going about solving or handling these issues because as this guy said, he basically said that it seemed that only physically, confrontations are the only way to command respect, to not be seen as a pushover. But on the other side, you have people that say, oh, just ignore it, just walk away. But at the same time, as a guy, is that really all you want to do? Right? Because if you feel like you want to give that guy a smack in the face, is that not something that you're not allowed to do? Right? So you can always have these arguments, and honestly speaking, I don't feel that there is a right way to go about doing this. Right? I don't feel that there is a right way to handle these situations. But what I will say is, I believe guys just need to have more respect for themselves, stand up for themselves more, set those lines, set those boundaries, and speak up for themselves. Because what I've learned is that people will cross your line, will cross boundaries, will disrespect you if you don't show them where the line is. If you don't say, actually, I don't appreciate what you've just said, actually, and actually speaking up on it. And this is really important. And I think what's so important, and that I'm learning as well, is that just say what you mean and say it without hesitation. Because at the end of the day, other people are always going to tell you, for example, if you speak up about something like this, they might tell you, oh, you're just being insecure or just all those different things. They'll try and put all those labels on you. And I just hate that. But I think at the end of the day, just stick to your word, right? I think as a guy, you need to be a man of your word. You need to be confident in what you say. And hey, at the end of the day, if you don't stand up for yourself, no one else is really going to, especially if you're a guy. So what I want this video to more so be about is not something that is particularly negative, but is more something where if you feel that other people, whether it be friends, family, partners, are disrespecting you as a young guy, speak up about it and don't feel guilty. Sure, that confrontation is definitely not comfortable, right? I know that. But at the same time, if you don't set the line, if you don't set the boundary, there won't be one. And I see so many guys, especially online, that get walked all over. And I see these clips and I think, how on earth are some of these guys still in this relationship? How are they still, with these friends? How are they just taking that? And whether it comes from a place of fear, right? A fear of, being the bad guy, saying something wrong. I don't know. But what I do know is that, like I said before, if you don't speak up about it, if you don't have respect for yourself, then often I'm going to find other people aren't going to have respect for you, right? If you want other people to treat you with respect, then the first thing you'll probably do is start treating yourself with respect, aka, building yourself up, setting boundaries, and just speaking up for yourself. So I'd be interested to know what experiences you have or with this topic, and hope you found this useful and enjoyed, and I'll chat soon.